Corey Stewart. Who is he? Well, number one, he's chairman of the Prince William County Board of Supervisors, actually one of the Republicans in the state that has the biggest constituency of any elected Republican. By the way, Republicans have lost 7, that's right, 7 up, 7 consecutive statewide races. Republicans down the tuberinos, they've lost. And he was also the chairman of the Trump campaign for a while. I served as his vice chair, then his co-chair, and we just spent some time with each other the other day, and he's a very formidable candidate for the Republican nomination for governor. There are, right now, 4 people in the race. Corey Stewart, Ed Gillespie, Congressman Rob Whitman, although I doubt he'll stay in the race. I've said that if he becomes chairman of the Sea Power Subcommittee, and Senator Hampton Roads, Frank Wagner. Joining us now, gubernatorial candidate Corey Stewart. Chairman Stewart, good to have you with us, man.
John, great to be back on your show.
I know. I couldn't have you on for a while, right? Because
yeah, I know you couldn't.
I know. It was pretty, I had to go through a Stewart withdrawal period. New York told me cut contact until November 9th. So November 9th came, and I reached out. So Corey Stewart running for governor. And let me just play this out. I mean, I think you got a real shot to be the nominee. I've said that many times because I think you almost start with about 33% of some of the people that I've heard that are going to back your candidacy. But give our listeners, Corey, an update about your gubernatorial campaign, where it stands, where you're headed.
Well, as you know, I spent a lot of time, as did you, working for Trump for almost a year, and traveled around the state, got to know a whole lot of people. And so, we have a good base, a good foundation there. Obviously, like you did, I chose the right candidate for president, and I think that's going to be rewarded. Where we're at, we're in the middle of a fundraising phase. We've raised a lot of money so far. We're going to show a really good number at the end of the year. We've hired up some of our key staff in various parts of the state, and we've hired a campaign manager who's, frankly, I think, the best campaign manager in the country. And so that was a real score. And then finally, we're putting together, and this is the most important part of my campaign, we're putting together a coalition of conservatives, including former Cruz supporters, former Trump supporters, putting that all together, and we're going to expand it from there. But, I'm obviously the most aggressive anti-establishment candidate for governor that you're ever going to find, and that's the message you're going to hear from me going forward.
Well, listen, the Republicans have lost 7 consecutive statewide races. I'm going to get your thoughts on that. I do want to comment, though, on your campaign manager, because who you surround yourself with in these campaigns, they do make a difference. I had a chance the other night, as you know, to sit down with your campaign manager, Spence Rogers, and this guy's the real deal. Just to tell our audience, Spence Rogers served 2 tours in Iraq, and so he's a veteran, but he ran the administrative end of the ground game, the first surge for General Petraeus. He did all of the on-the-ground planning for that, which was very successful, as everyone knows. And then the Cruz campaign, which had one of the best ground games anywhere, they hired him as their ground game manager for the Iowa caucuses, of which he did a magnificent job, and that's how you guys hooked up. So this guy is going to be a very, very formidable asset, Corey, to your campaign, no doubt. When you look at what he did for Cruz in Iowa, I mean, I was there for 9 days leading up to the Iowa caucuses, and we knew that something was going on with the Cruz campaign because they had a tremendous ground game there, and they got their people out, and they actually were able to win, right?
That's right, and he deserves most of the credit for that. He put it together. There's a reason a political campaign is called a campaign. It's very similar to a military campaign. There's a lot of chaos. You've got to organize things. You've got to prepare the troops on the ground. You've got to prepare for all the things that you can't plan for, and you just have to prepare for a lot of unknowns. And he was able to do that. both in Iraq, and he was able to do that, with very little political experience at that point. He was able to do that for Cruz. And so, the ground game, my ground game has just absolutely, I've seen it already. He has not been on board with me that long, but there's been just a massive change in terms of organization and setting up the ground game in Virginia.
And he did a fabulous job at that. Now, let's go to the general election. Let's assume you're the nominee. Here's the issue. Republicans in Virginia have lost 7 consecutive statewide races, right? 7 in a row.
That's right.
And in this past cycle, 2016, Trump lost the 3 Northern Virginia cities, Alexandria, Fairfax, and Arlington, by a combined 312,000 votes. Trump also got beat in your own county of Prince William pretty handily by Clinton. So a lot of people say, look, Corey Stewart, maybe he can get the nomination, but he would certainly be the weakest Republican candidate on the ballot, and so that almost ensures another defeat at the hands of Lieutenant Governor Ralph Northam, based on those numbers and the fact that you would be the most anti-establishment conservative Republican in there, which would turn off Northern Virginia voters. How do you respond to that?
Well, look at reality. I'm the only Republican who's been able to win Prince William County, a county of 450,000 people. It's 53% minority. It voted for Barack Obama 60-40, and it just voted for Hillary Clinton. I'm the only Republican who's been able to win Prince William County since 2009, when Bob McDonnell was able to do it. Mm-hmm. I've done it 4 times. The latest time was last year in 2015. And the reason I am, and this is, some people say, well, I'm too conservative to win Northern Virginia. Well, I'm able to win. And the reason I'm able to win is because I work the minority areas of the county. I've been able to do that. I know how to reach out and listen to them. Now, there's a big difference. Some of these rhino Republicans, establishment Republicans, think you need to get weak and you need to become a Democrat light in order to win in Northern Virginia. Just the opposite is true, because people respect a leader who stands up for what he believes and that he implements what he's been promoting. So with me, they know there's no BS, that I'm going to get the job done. And even if they disagree with me, they at least know they have a leader who's going to get things accomplished.
Okay, so let's get to your primary campaign. There's right now 4 candidates in the race right now. How do you cobble together, what type of a coalition do you cobble together in order to win a primary? Ed Gillespie right now, I've got him as the chalk. He's the favorite, got the name ID. He's got a ton of money. He's got the speaker behind him. Many of the House of Delegates members are behind him. He's also got some Tea Party people, Jamie Ratke, et cetera. He's done a pretty good job there. You look at this thing with 4 candidates in, somebody's going to have to get 39, 40% in order to win. How do you cobble together a coalition in order to do that?
Well, for one thing, there is no way on God's green earth that Ed Gillespie is going to get a majority of former or current Tea Party members, and here's why. This guy worked to destroy Tea Party candidates, and all that's going to come out. Ed can't hide from his record. He's as establishment comes. He worked with Karl Rove and others to undermine Tea Party candidates, and people aren't going to forget that. That's the first thing. Second, I'm going to be able to pull together the Trump supporters, the Cruz supporters, Tea Party members, probably Ben Carson supporters. We're going to be able to pull all those together with very big, bold policy initiatives. As you know, I'm not I'm not a shrinking violet. We're going to be very, very strong on guns. We're going to make sure that we got constitutional carry in Virginia. On life, I'm 100% pro-life. We're going to be promoting a very strong agenda on life as well. And then finally, on economics. Somebody like Ed Gillespie talks in this gibberish, political nonsense that means nothing, and he's never specific. We are going to put forth a very aggressive tax cut policy in the Commonwealth that's going to bring back jobs. We're siphoning off jobs. It's like a bloodletting of jobs mostly going to North Carolina because they got a more competitive tax system and business environment down there. We're going to fix that. We're going to change all that and bring all those groups together and others into a very formidable conservative coalition.
Okay, so what percentage do you think of the vote in the June primary? And by the way, so our listeners know, this is not a convention. This is going to be a primary June 17th, I think. I'm not sure the date. It's going to be the second Tuesday or third Tuesday or something like that in June, whenever it's set. But it's going to be a primary. You got to get outspent by Gillespie, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 1. He's got all the money. What type of percentage are you going to need in order to win?
Well, it depends on how many candidates there are, obviously, in the race at that point. And I mean, we're just going to be prepared to win a majority, and I think it's doable. Now, you talk about Ed Gillespie raising a lot of money, and look, he can raise a lot of money because he has all the connections with all the establishment across the country. But what he's not counting on is this: in 2017. There's only one significant race nationally, and that's for the governor of Virginia. There's also a governor's race in New Jersey, probably won't be competitive. There's going to be a whole lot of attention on this race. And you know what? It's going to be a proxy battle between the establishment and the anti-establishment, and it's going to be right here in Virginia. You're going to not only you're going to find all this establishment money, the Jeb Bush money coming and supporting the Karl Rove money, the Jeb Bush money coming in to support Ed, but on my side, you're going to get a whole lot of conservatives from across the country who do not want the first major battle after the presidential election between the establishment and the anti-establishment, who don't want the establishment to win that fight. And therefore, you're going to get a whole lot of anti-establishment money, and I can't tell you more about this now, but coming in from across the country to make sure that the likes of Jeb Bush, i.e. Ed Gillespie, establishment Ed, does not win.
All right, so it seems like what you're saying, Chairman Stewart, is that you're pretty confident that you're going to have the fundraising apparatus in place to get the money that you need to be competitive in this race. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And I think that what Trump showed, too, was that, the establishment can spend all this money on all these nonsense, political speak ads that, like Jeb did, $100 million. And Jeb couldn't even move the needle. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Ed Gillespie, it's the same thing. He's an establishment guy that doesn't really say anything without consulting his consultants. I mean, he won't even go on your show without getting the topics all nailed down. People are sick and tired of the same old, and they're not going to revert back to establishment candidates like Ed Gillespie after we were successfully nominated an anti-establishment candidate, an outsider like Donald Trump.
Well, if you look at the Super Tuesday primary 2000 March 1st, 2016, that obviously you and I were very much involved in, you look at that when you talk about the money. Marco Rubio made a big play for Virginia. They thought if they could win Virginia, they could prove that Trump was not viable in swing states, right? Remember that? So Rubio spent on TV in broadcast, he spent $1.5 million in Virginia in 3 weeks. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Trump's broadcast budget was $30,000, all on the radio and all with the John Fredericks Radio Network. That's all. He spent $30,000 on advertising in the entire state. Rubio, $1.5 million. Trump beat him handily. So you're right. I mean, money in the state doesn't always pan out. I mean, you look at $1.5 million to $30,000 and you say to yourself, how on earth did Trump win? Plus, Rubio had the backing of all the establishment, right? Scott Ridgel, Barbara Comstock, et cetera, and he couldn't win. So
yeah, and I think that Ed Gillespie, he's like the Jeb Bush of Virginia. I mean, he's going to have all those establishment supporters, but nobody really cares. Nobody really cares whether you got the support of Barbara Comstock. Are you kidding? I mean, here's somebody who wouldn't even support Trump and who just kept kicking Trump when he was down. All those establishment people, as you know, they were confident that Trump was going to go down in flames and he was going to lose, and that these establishment people were going to somehow rise up and with the and try to convince us afterward that the only way we could ever win again was to become rhinos like they are, like Ed Gillespie is and like Barbara Comstock is. People are sick and tired of that patronizing attitude, and that's why they nominated Trump, and that's why they're going to support an anti-establishment candidate for governor next year.
Is there going to be one big idea? I mean, you look at these candidates now, and I haven't seen anything big, but when Governor Gilmore ran, he ran on, basically axe the car tax that everybody hates. Is there going to be a one big idea, something big coming out of the Stewart campaign?
Well, there certainly will be some very big bold policy initiatives that Virginia's been waiting for a long time. But look, at the end of the day, you never really know what problems Virginia is going to be facing starting in 2018. And so what people have learned is that what's more important than even policy initiatives is the style of the candidate. In other words, do you want somebody who's going to be safe, always play it safe, always somebody who's really not going to move the needle, somebody who just wants to be governor because they want that title on their resume, like Ed Gillespie? Is that who you really want? Or do you want somebody who's bold, who takes risks, calculated risks, who's able to pull together coalitions to implement an aggressive conservative agenda, as I have done so in Prince William County in a very competitive, tough area? And that's a choice that people are ultimately going to make, and I think that's why they chose Trump this year, and they're going to choose me for governor next year.
Okay, if people want more information, Corey, on your campaign, where do they go?
www.CoreyStewart.com or on Twitter @CoreyStewartVA, and that's V as in Victor, A as in Apple.
All right, I want to thank you for your time. Chairman, Prince William County Board of Supervisors, and candidate for governor, Republican side, Corey Stewart. Hey, Corey, good to have you. We'll see you at the Advance in a couple weeks.
Sounds good.
And in the meantime, to your wife, Maria, and your family and yourself, have a great and happy Thanksgiving holiday.
Great. Thanks a lot, John.
All right. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Keep it right here.